Welcome back. A few years ago, the country was rocked by the FeesMustFall movement, with students demanding free higher education. Now, some university graduates are raising funds for those who can't afford tertiary education. They'll be asking motorists in various cities for donations. Let's find out more about this initiative. We're joined now in studio by the chairperson of the Education for Social Justice Foundation, Hendrik Makaneta. Hendrik, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
I think perhaps as a starting point, just give us an update on where we are in terms of funding for tertiary education, and perhaps, also just tell us how successful were the FeesMustFall protests, that movement that really shook the country at the time?
Well, I must say, Michelle, that the FeesMustFall movement was very dynamic. It was able to make an impact, bringing the country to standstill at some point. But now, what was required, or the protest was about free quality higher education for those students who come from poor families. But what we see now is that, the government continued with the NSFAS, which was there before. It was just amended here and there to make sure that, they respond to those demands. But if you look at NSFAS, it is still not able to cater for students who cannot afford, in a sense that universities still require registration fees. Okay. If you take, for example, the University of Pretoria, they will require an amount of 7,500 before a student can get in. And the same goes for other universities. So this actually means that although the FeesMustFall movement protested, we did not really get what was needed. Now, it is for this reason that, the Tusha Wanarheno movement has decided to go to the robots to go and ask motorists. And in particular, we did this even yesterday under the leadership of Dr. John Molepo, who founded the organization, motorists have been able to give us money there, particularly taxi drivers, in their numbers. And this movement has already assisted some of the students previously. And this year there's a target of about 200. And of course...
Are you talking about 200 students?
Yes. But of course there are also people who came, who approached the project to say, we want to adopt students. So we're counting here students, some of whom have been adopted by generous members of the community. One person will say, I will pay registration for a student or those who are still owing. And those who are unable to get meals at universities.
So, Hendrik, you've brought one of the placards with you that you'll be taking to the streets. And this is around the country that your members will be doing this? Exactly.
It has happened already in Potchefstroom, in Polokwane as well as Pretoria and Rustenburg. Those are some of the cities that where we have been already. Yesterday as well, I was personally there in Pretoria. And, even today, this morning, I was there. And we were talking to motorists raising. And, of course, members of the community have been responding positively.
And how much money have you raised so far?
Well, we still have to gather. The target for between yesterday and today was 50,000. But we raised just below 50,000 rands. We did not reach the target of 50,000 rands.
And this is to support 200 students. Now,
yes, our target for this year is to support at least.
And that's for 2020.
200. That is for 2020.
So for anyone who's watching this insert now, if they'd like to contribute more, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, there is a number here which I have.
Perhaps just hold it still so that our camera can get a proper shot of it.
The number is there on the board, and of course they can reach out to that number, and they can speak directly to Dr. Molepo, who is the mastermind behind this program. And of course, they can be able to get the necessary assistance. But at the same time, we still have students who are owing. Yeah. The issue of debt has not been resolved. At some point, as far as the management had to be changed after they were not able to deal with backlogs of 2017. So there are still students who owe universities as we speak now. they will not receive their results because they are still owing.
And we know that affects their chances of getting employment.
That affects their chance. Even those who are graduating, there are students, for example, who are in their final year. The employers will need the transcripts or the certificates. And if they don't get those from universities, they may lose the chance of getting employment as well. So I'm saying that, government must go back to the drawing board to find a way of, relooking at this model. It has not worked. And it's unfortunate that as we speak, some of the FeesMustFall leaders like Kanya Kagesha remains behind bars.
Absolutely.
And we also want to take this opportunity to also call upon government, in particular the president, to find a way to give this young man a pardon.
All right, Hendrik Makaneta is the chairperson of the Education for Social Justice Foundation. Quite an important initiative, this. If you'd like to contribute, the number there, let me just repeat it for you once again. It's 076 750 2300 if you'd like to make a donation to support students with outstanding debt and students as they go into their 2020 tertiary education year.